Tuesday. Per the usual, I'm going to recommend, if you have it available, 2 blocks, 1 strap, or something that resembles that. But I am going to welcome a meditation cushion or a pillow or a towel, just in order to be able to support you. I hope you guys had a good Memorial Day yesterday. It was hot. Should be beautiful and warm again today, friends. Have anything you need, anything that's going to make you happy, or water, or any of the sort. And this morning, why don't we get started in a comfortable seated position? And remember, those seated positions can come up onto your little bolster, blanket, in a block. And they can look in like a variety of different concepts. I tend to sit in half lotus. That's what's most comfortable for me. But also remembering you can always find Sukhasana, contented space pose, or even Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet come together, knees will open wide. And that just allows for the beginning of the hips to root. If a seated position this morning doesn't feel right to you, you can always start on the back and meet us later on. That's fine as well. Just really noticing what's grounding down in towards the sit bones, rolling the outer edges of the thighs, down and in towards the earth, widening the collarbones and the shoulder blades, finding a sense of expansiveness from the midline. Tension in the fingertips, permission to let that go. And then maybe this morning on this beautiful Tuesday, warm and bright and sunny, you close the eyes. Pulling the navel up and in towards the back spine. Again, gently noticing what is touching the earth, what is rising out of the hips, and finding the length in the spine. The unhindered, natural cadence of breath. Just pausing for that moment to take the internal temperature, the gauge of the mind. As we move towards June, the building, everything around us is getting brighter and shinier. Days are getting longer as we come towards the longest day of the year. I'm noticing that often we hear these words, gratitude, community, trust, but they've become so frequent in everywhere we see, on t-shirts and greeting cards, in e-blast mailers, papered on the screen. Just coming back to what actual gratitude simply means for you. Remembering that you can be grateful for something when you're uncomfortable. You can be grateful for something when you as well. And there can be joy in the obstacle that changes who we are, as in the space of respite. And so our mat, this tiny little square that we place wherever works for us in our life, inside, outside, sometimes we carry it with us, is really just a mirror reminder. The practice is the mirror that allows for us to experience spaces of comfort and discomfort, remembering that the thoughts associated with those ideas are not really who we are. So gratitude, my friends. What does it really mean to you? It's from that space, knowing that you already know the answer, that we begin to invoke the breath. Ujjayi, victorious breath. The back of the throat will softly close. Those inhales and exhales, they'll come out through the nose. Letting the breath be big, pulling everything into the body. Inhalation, side ribs expand. And the exhale, navel pulls back in towards the back spine, releasing all of the stagnant air, anything you don't need, either in the body or in the mind. Letting the emphasis today maybe on the space at the base of the inhale and the space at the base of the exhale. Finding a moment of pause here. Maybe simply the gratitude today is for the breath, or for the light, or for the practice, or this body. Moment of silence here. A few more rounds of breath. Noticing that it's the simple things we often take for granted that can be the most luxurious. Stillness, strength, the ability to breathe. Last two breaths, as always, we'll take together. Big inhale in through the nose. Big exhalation. One more here, big breath in. Maybe it's deeper or bigger. And that exhale can be open mouth, loud, quiet, or even sound like a sigh. Option to keep the eyes closed as always. Gently drawing the chin down towards the chest, we bow to that internal strength, that wisdom we all have within us. We bow to our tribe, to our neighbor. We don't have to be in the same space and looking at them next to us to know that they're there, here as well. Chin draws back up to parallel, maybe floating the eyes open, maybe keeping them closed this morning. Inhalation, sweeping the fingertips up to the sky, just beginning to wake the body up. Let the shoulder heads draw down. And the exhale, reaching behind you, interlacing the fingers behind the low back, straightening the arms if available. And remembering you can always use a strap if that feels too much for the shoulders as you draw them behind you and gently press the sternum up towards the sky. Inhale back up to the sky, big breath here. And the exhalation, releasing the hands by the side. If you've chosen a cross-legged position like me, we'll just gently switch sides, allowing for that ability to open the hips evenly. Maybe you need to readjust your seat to find where everything on the left side and the right side feel the same. Once you're there, big inhale back up to the sky. Breath pulls in. And the exhalation, releasing the hands back behind you, re-interlacing them opposite awkward way, or using your strap once again. Instead of finding that internal rotation, we really want to draw the shoulder heads behind us, opening the shoulder socket, finding space between the ears and the shoulder heads themselves. Big inhale here. And the exhalation gently releases the hands. We'll draw the right fingertips behind us. Block can be used always. Inhalation, the left draws up to the sky. Plug the shoulder head down. And the exhale is a gentle twist, just beginning to wake everything up, especially when it's a lot warmer in the morning. We just want to be conscious of what's going on in the body. Letting everything link with breath. Inhalation, left arm rises, coming back to center. Gentle release of the left hand. Inhalation, right rises, plug the shoulder head down. And that next exhale finds that second side, gentle twist. If this feels too much, you can always keep the hand on the same knee. Otherwise, really rooting the sit bones down. You guys hear me say often, twists are rooted, they're driven by the breath. Every inhale is the lengthening. Every exhale is the twist as you pull the left obliques back. Right fingertips rise, inhalation, sweep everything back up to the sky. And the exhale, waking up the hamstrings a little bit, beginning to find a little forward fold. Palms can draw down into the earth, shoulder width distance, or come up onto the fingertips. If the shoulders are tight, you can always go a little bit wider. Finding that length between the crown of the head and the tailbone, keeping that bottom foot flexed to protect the knee. One more big inhale here. One more big exhale, maybe you fold a little deeper. And then using the navel, inhalation, drawing back up towards the sky, crown of the head back over the pelvis. And we'll gently release out of our comfortable seat, or hopefully it was comfortable, gently rolling over the shins if that's available for you this morning. You can remove your bolster and throw it away with reckless abandon if you don't want to see it anymore. And we'll all meet one another in tabletop position. Shoulders over wrists. We'll find our hips over our knees and untucking the toes unless you're modifying for cat-cow. Inhalation, heart forward. Lift the tailbone, open the belly. And that big exhale, rounding the spine, finding space between every vertebrae, crown towards the earth. Coming back through on your breath, widening the side ribs, rooting the shins, big toe, little toe. On that exhale, once again, really pushing the back of the heart up towards the sky. Finding this cat-cow, that undulation, but on your own breath. Remembering, if you're faster or slower than my instruction today, please pay that no mind. You're moving with the fingerprint of your own breath. And just like your fingerprints, that's going to be different and unique than everyone else. So please remember, modifications are there. They are welcome. You take them anytime you want. Child's pose by you is taken. No need to ever wait for the permission to pause. So take the pause when you need it. No ego, all joy. Finding 3 more rounds of breath here. Maybe finding a variation even here. Gazing over the shoulder, barreling the belly, or maybe this is where you'd like child's pose. Whenever you find that third exhale in cat-cow, maybe it's open mouth, unlocking the jaw, letting the belly be soft. Come back into tabletop position. Pull the belly in, lengthen the spine. Begin to push the ground away and roll the eyes of the elbows away from the toes. From here, we'll step into plank pose, top of a push-up. Maybe this is the very first active concept you've done today, plank pose. So this can be your very first decision of strength on what a Tuesday looks like. So can you spread the toes, lengthen the tailbone to the back of the heels in plank, and notice if you can engage those low abs. That changes the whole game. You can be as anatomically aligned and as strong as you want. But can you find the breath? Can you fill the strength with a little bit of softness? Spreading the shoulder blades, noticing if this is a place of discomfort for you, can you still find gratitude? Taking another big inhale here, the right toes will hover up off the mat. That's your floating plank. Your exhale releases your right toes back down to the earth. One more breath. Inhale, left toes hover up off the mat in plank, floating plank, left side. Exhale, left toes draw back down. Here's your last big breath here. Big inhale, fill the lungs. And the exhale is downward facing dog, lifting the hips up towards the sky, hinging at the hips. And then here, really finding your foundation, noticing what you need. Do you need to pedal out the legs? Would you like to nod the head or unlock the jaw even further? But the alignment here is key. Your foundation here is how you reset your spine. Palms are shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider if the shoulders are tight today. Really roll the outer edges of the shoulder heads back and under. Weight draws down into the thumb and the first finger, evenly lifting the thighs up to the side. Finding another big breath in here, downward facing dog. Big exhalation. One more here, big breath in. Fill the side ribs. Notice what it's like to be full. And that exhale pushes everything away, noticing what it's like to be empty. And from here, my friends, we'll find a little work on a Tuesday. Right leg lifts, foot flexed at the ankle. That's our three-legged dog. Big breath in here. Momentum. Exhalation, right knee, right elbow. Use the core. Can they touch? To the sky. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, knee to nose. Let everything round now. Use the navel. Inhalation, back to the sky. Last one in this form. Exhale, right knee, left elbow. Maybe they can touch today. Three-legged dog. Big breath in. Stretch that right leg back up to the sky. Keep the right leg floating. We'll shift forward, floating plank. We did that before. Plank pose is shoulders over wrists. The right toes are hovering. Feel the heartbeat. Big inhale. No rounding, my friends. Exhale, right knee, right elbow. There's your stability. Inhale, straighten the right leg, floating plank. Exhale, knee to nose, but don't let the spine round. Inhale to lengthen. Last one like this. Exhale, cross the body. Coming back into floating plank, straighten the right leg, and we'll find our vinyasa. Pushing over the left toes, lowering halfway, chaturanga, elbows over wrists. Untuck toes, inhale, up dog or cobra. Use the back bend you need today. And the exhalation rolls over the toes, hips up and back for downward facing dog. Remembering, you move with your own breath. The right leg will lift once again. Second time we've lifted the right leg. Pause here in three-legged dog and just gently bend the right leg at the knee, beginning to open up that first hip. And maybe you want to find a little bit of movement here. Roll the toes, roll the upper leg bone. If flipping the dog floats your boat on a Tuesday, yes, beautiful alignment. Enjoy that choice that you can make for yourself. Really engaging the navel and finding another big inhale in whatever variation you've chosen today. And on your next exhale, finding three-legged dog once again, straightening that right leg, leveling the hips, finding a big breath in. And the exhalation, warrior two, first side, sweeping the front leg up and through. Front heel, back arch alignment, bending into that front knee, squaring the torso, opening the arms, letting the gaze be soft. Inhale, reverse the warrior, big breath in. And the exhale comes back to warrior two. You've got one more here. Inhale, reverse, straighten the front bent leg. And we'll find both arms are going to draw away from the front of the body and just a slight hinge here. Not moving into full triangle yet. Just a big inhalation, pulling the navel in, waking up the core. Back up to the sky. Exhale, finding warrior two once again. Inhale, reverse, maybe gazing up. And the exhale, windmilling the palms down towards the mat, stepping back to plank. You have an optional vinyasa, or hips can float up and back for downward facing dog. And remember, child's pose is there for you whenever you need it, whenever it's time for you. From down dog, when you arrive, a left leg lifts, inhalation. We find our movement, exhale, left knee, left elbow. Here's your full momentum, use that here. Inhale, three-legged dog, core is engaged. Exhale, knee to nose. Can you pull the knee up higher? Inhale, back to the sky. Last one in this style. Exhale, left knee, right elbow. Inhalation, three-legged dog. Straighten the left leg. Keep that left leg floating. Floating plank. Shifting forward, long line of energy. Shoulders over wrists, no rounding. Keep the left toes flexed. Big inhale. Exhale, left knee, left elbow. No rounding the spine. That's a choice. Inhale, straighten that leg. Can gratitude even come here? Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, floating plank, length out. Exhale, cross the body. Floating plank, inhalation, fill the lungs. And we'll find our vinyasa here. Pushing over the right toes, lowering halfway. Untuck toes, inhale, fill the lungs. There's your back bend, tailbone down. On the exhale, rolls over the toes, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts once again. Inhale. Pause here. Bend the left leg at the knee and begin to open up that second hip. Whatever you chose on the first side, I'm going to recommend that you choose here just to find a little bit of sama, a little bit of balance in the body on both sides. But rolling out of the bottom shoulder, we don't want to dump in the joints. It's easy to sit in the joints. It's harder to ask the muscle to lift us up and out of the spaces we can sit in. Find another big breath in, whatever option you've chosen, but let the jaw unlock. Beginning to straighten that left leg once again. We all meet one another in three-legged dog. You have a big inhale here. Hips are parallel. On the exhale is warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2, second side. Sweeping the left leg up and through, front heel back arch. Finding a nice long juicy warm up this morning to make sure we've got to keep the body safe. From warrior two, inhale, reverse. Keep putting the weight into that front heel. The exhalation comes back into warrior two. You've got one more here. Inhale, sweep back. Straighten the front bent leg. Allow for that back arm to sweep up to meet the top. Inhalation, gentle bend. Really rooting through the outer edge of the back foot. Noticing if you can pull the tailbone down to the back right heel. Inhale, back up to the sky. Exhalation, Vira 2, warrior 2. Inhale, reverse, big breath in. And the exhale, windmills the palms down towards the mat, steps back to plank, and you have an optional vinyasa or hips float up and back for Adho Mukha, downward facing dog. Just noticing wherever you're practicing this morning, what can you give gratitude for? Maybe it's that little ray of sun that's hitting your back or hitting your mat. Maybe it's the sound of the birds around you. Or maybe it's just simply the feel of your mat, that security underneath the hands, underneath the toes. Take a big inhale here, downward dog, Adho Mukha. Exhale, bend the knees, step or float to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And the exhale, forward fold. In the forward fold, feet are hip width distance, heels are behind the second toes, and then choose what you need here. Do you want to pause for a moment and grab the elbows and sway? Do you want to take the peace fingers and reach for the big toes, finding that length in the spine, crown of the head away from the tailbone? Or maybe you just simply want to fold. The most active version of the pose is not always what we need. It's the beauty of throwing the ego off and on. It's actually the beauty of practicing in your own space. No one's looking at you. No one ever is, by the way, you know that. No one's judging you. There's just simple choice and you having the opportunity of making the best one for you today. Take another big breath in, fill the belly. And that big soft exhale. Whatever option you chose this morning, it was the right one. Fingertips draw back down towards the earth. We ground down, spread the toes. Inhale, up to the sky. Letting everything lengthen. Upward facing hands, mountain pose. On the exhale, forward fold, heart towards the knees. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold. Back to the sky, big breath in. Remember, if you're before or after me, that's okay. Exhale, dive right back down, beginning on our one breath, one movement. Inhale, halfway Ardha, long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Back up, big breath in, rise. Let the shoulder heads sink down. Exhale, dive right back down, moving into full Surya Namaskar. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, vinyasa, move through. Bend the knees, plant the palms. Step to plank or the light hop to chaturanga, that halfway float. Choose the back bend that you need today, which also may mean you want to skip it sometimes, and that's okay. From downward facing dog, big breath in. Exhale, bend the knees, step or float, lift halfway. Inhale at the top of the mat, fill the lungs. Exhale, forward fold. Back up, big breath in, rise. What are you reaching for today? It matters. Exhale, dive right back down, hinging just at the hips. Inhale, halfway lift, crown of head, front of root. Exhale, vinyasa, move through. Choosing, every time you get to go through your flow, there's always an option for something different. Don't want to jump back anymore? Don't jump back. Don't want to do a back bend? Skip it today. From downward facing dog, the big inhale fills the belly. The exhale bends the knees, steps or floats you to the top of the mat. Lifts, inhale halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Back up, big breath in, rise. Let everything lengthen. Last one like this. Exhale, dive right back down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway, Ardha. Exhale, vinyasa, move through. We'll all meet in downward facing dog, arriving the way you need to, taking all of the time in the world. From downward facing dog, inhale, right leg lifts, and the exhale is warrior two. We've been here before, sweeping the right leg up and through, front heel, back arch alignment, really letting the heart align over the pelvis, long line of energy. From here, inhale, reverse the warrior, big breath in. And the exhale comes back into warrior two, separating the shoulder blades. One more here, inhale, rise back, straightening the front bent leg. And the exhale as we move into triangle pose, Trikonasana. It's not about how low you're going. I'd rather your triangle be up here if the length of the spine is being compromised to be down. So remember, in triangle, you can always place a block underneath the right palm. But can you pull the left obliques even further back, pressing the shoulder blades into the chest? Just thinking about the length of the spine and hinging simply from the front. Taking a big breath in, Trikonasana, triangle pose. Weights in that front big toe. Low abs are engaged. Take one more inhale here. And on the exhale, just gently bend into that front knee as we move into side angle pose B. Letting that top arm shift up and over. And then maybe keeping that bottom arm extended. Maybe you prefer to find the variation today, where that top arm is still over the ear, but the bottom arm is gently on the knee. Just allowing it to sit on the thigh, really rotating on the heart instead of thinking of it drawing down. You want to think about that opening. Whatever choice you made is the right choice. Inhale, draw the bottom arm up to meet the top. Back up towards the sky. Open up, exhale, warrior two. Inhale, sweep back to rise, reverse. Exhale, windmill the palms down towards the mat. Step back to plank. You have an optional vinyasa or hips up and back for downward facing dog. Remember, guys, you hear me say this all the time. 90 million chaturangas does not a practice make. If every time you move through chaturanga, you feel emotionally or physically tortured, that's not part of the practice. Torture is not part of the practice. You get to choose why you're making these decisions. From downward dog, big inhale here. Exhale, bend the knees, step or float top of the mat, lifting halfway, inhalation, lengthen. And the exhale is the forward fold. Back up to the sky, big breath and rise, everything lengthens. Exhale, dive right back down, forward fold, second side. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, vinyasa, move through. Bending the knees, either stepping to plank or that light hop to chaturanga. We'll all meet in downward dog. When you arrive, Adho Mukha, inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, warrior two, second side. Really noticing your foundation here. Really kicking out that back edge of the foot, sealing everything down, revolving just the torso. Front knee doesn't move, it's pulling towards the pinky toe instead of the big toe. Inhale, reverse, big breath in, everything lengthens. Exhalation comes back into warrior two. This is active recovery here. Inhale, rise back, straighten the front back leg. On the exhale, triangle pose, controlling it from the core. Instead of just dipping and rounding, pulling the back ribs, really letting the length, you'll feel the tailbone pulling towards the back edge of the back. And again, here in triangle, how about the permission to pause, the permission to breathe, to check in with the state of the body and the state of the mind, and just noticing what we give gratitude for. Is it only when things are easy, Or can we give gratitude for the things that change us to be who we are? That's not usually the easy spaces that have changed us. From here in triangle, keeping the arms open wide, just gently bending into that front knee as we come into Utthita Parshva B, extended side angle pose B. Rotating that top arm up and over the ear, palm faces the earth, and then choosing the option that you prefer. Either keeping that front bent arm on the thigh, or maybe again reaching towards the earth. You can also use your block here. You can also gaze up gently towards the sky, softly tucking the chin. If your thighs are working for you this morning, can you give them gratitude as well? Big inhale here. Big exhale. And then from here, my friends, just gently sweeping that bottom arm up to meet the top. Stability, core. Inhale, back up. Exhale. Our friend warrior two here to support us. Inhalation, rise back. Weight stays in the front heel. On the exhale, windmills the palms down towards the mat. Steps back to plank. You have an optional vinyasa, or hips can softly float up and back for downward facing dog. Letting the breath be long. Noticing the quality of the breath. We are given two breaths in our life, the one we're born with and the one that we die with. And everything else in between is completely up to you. Every breath, every moment, every choice, everything in the middle, that's completely up to you. So what are you going to do with the quality of your breath today? How are you going to spend your breath? Please remember, if you ever need child's pose, it's always available. It's available right here for you if you need it to. Taking another inhalation. And a big exhale. And from here, we'll shift forward, plank pose. Gently lowering down to the belly, finding that control, maybe even using the knees today. Form over ego always. When you arrive on the belly, untuck the toes, interlace the fingers behind the low back spine, forehead stays down towards the mat. Straighten the arms if available, lift the wrists away from the back spine, roll the shoulder heads up to the sky, feet stay down on the mat, inhale. Let the chest begin to rise. Ardha Shalabhasana, half locust pose. Gently pulling the crown away from the tailbone. Remembering, there's nothing to see here, but there's everything to feel. Front ribs pull up. Tailbone lengthens. Another big breath in here. Let the breath be what's generous. And the exhale, lets everything melt back down towards the mat. Lets everything soften. Maybe you take the gaze to one side, maybe you windshield wiper the legs or let the hips rock. Maybe you do one of my favorite things, nothing. The art of doing nothing. In Italian, we call that dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing. It's an art. Come back to the breath. Come back to the space of gratitude. You can be happy and grateful even when it's hard. You can be happy and grateful when it's easy. It's your choice. Forehead will come back to center, my friends, if you've taken the gaze off to the side. And we'll find half locust, what we just did once again, but with the awkward opposite grip behind you. Reaching behind the lumbar spine, re-interlacing fingers, always option to use a strap, opposite awkward way. Keep the top of the feet down, and really think about pulling the crown of the head away from the tailbone on your inhale as you rise. Your pose must be driven by your breath. So maybe you close the eyes here and just focus. Inhale deep into the deepest part of the lobes. You'll feel the belly rise. You'll feel yourself rise a little more too. Draw the tailbone down. On the exhale, instead of sinking back down towards the earth, can you lift the front ribs even higher? Take another big inhale here, half locust. And the exhale, once again, lets you melt and surrender down towards the mat. Stillness or movement, every breath, every choice is simply yours. Taking another inhale. Maybe a softer, longer exhale. And then from here, forehead draws back to center. We'll tuck the toes, ground the palms. Inhaling through plank, option to use the knees. And the exhale is downward facing dog. Big breath in, down dog. Big exhalation. And from here, right leg lifts, inhale. Exhale, sweep the right leg up in between the palms. Keep the fingertips down, release the back knee down towards the mat. Here's your low lunge. Then beginning to take both palms to the interior of the right leg, and we will find lizard. There's the option to keep that back knee down towards the mat. There's the option to tuck the toes once again and find the length of the spine. You can heel toe the foot out slightly out to the side and even come down to the forearms or your blocks, bolster, or blanket if that feels best for you. Pulling the left hip back just as much as the right. Noticing the integrity of the spine. Originally, yoga was made not to be athletic. It wasn't made to make us sweat. That's a Western invention that's modern and recent from the teens and the 20s. Back in the day, there were very, very few poses. And I mean back in the day, I talked about thousands of years ago. Because the goal was to let the body move so that we could sit and meditate. But now that the practice has changed, because our lives have changed, our world has changed. Let that activity, when it meets the stillness, allow for even more space between the breath. Taking another big inhale. Lizard. And the exhalation, if you've kept that knee back down to the mat, begin to draw both fingertips, framing the front foot once again, and retucking the back toes, lifting the heel up off the mat. You're now in a low lunge, you're just touching the earth. Can you begin to float the fingertips up and off the mat? You don't need them. Can you begin to use just the core and come up into high crescent lunge, pulling that right hip back? Maybe reaching up towards the sky if the stability feels okay for you. Remember, you can always leave hands towards heart if it feels safer and more comfortable. From here, we'll move into warrior three. Again, there's no momentum to pull up and off that back leg, letting the hips be squared down towards the earth. Back toes are softly drawing down. Inner thigh pulling up to the sky. And remember, it's warrior three. It doesn't have to be perfect. There is no perfection. So if you're yelling at yourself in your head today because it doesn't look like your friends, or maybe you fell out of the pose, who cares? It's a yoga pose. Tuck the front ribs. I know you guys are strong. Y'all can hold plank for years. This is just plank on one leg. So you've got one more inhale. We have to be able to change our mind about it. And the exhale gently pulls us out of warrior three, bending the front knee. And look, you're right back in high crescent lunge. Stability, gratitude, landing right where you belong. The exhale palms down to the mat, stepping back to plank. You have an optional vinyasa or hips up and back for downward facing dog. Big breath in, down dog. Big exhale. And from here, the left leg will lift, inhalation. We'll sweep the left foot in between the palms, release the back knee down, and we'll set up for lizard on our second side. Untucking the toes, palms draw into the interior of that left leg. And you've got choices here again, just like before. You can come down to the forearms, keeping the spine long. You can lift the back knee if that length feels best for you by keeping the heel elevated. Lizard comes in many forms. The poses come in many forms. It's because they're here to be tailored to you. I used to talk with my master teacher about that a lot. There's usually two different schools of thought about our poses. One of them is that every pose is for every body. And the other one is that our bodies are different and not all poses are meant for all of us. I come from the second school of thought. Our bodies are anatomically built different. So if lizard with the leg lifted is something that never works with your hips because of how your femur bone is literally inserted into your hip socket, that's okay. If your lizard is knee released to the mat, that's your lizard. And if your buddy over here is doing a different version because their thigh bones and their hips are made differently, that's fabulous. But we don't want to force ourselves into anything because it's never the accomplishment of the pose that should change the way we view ourselves or our practice. Taking another big breath in, a little lizard. On a Tuesday, I love lizards. Side note, I love the ones that when we walk up to them, they're like these little fence lizards and they get really upset and they start doing little push-ups because they're super territorial. Those are my favorite. From here, my friends, we'll begin to release the back knee down to the mat. If you chose the lifted knee option, begin to frame that front leg once again. Shoulders are over the wrists. You'll tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. And once again, notice where you're moving from here. Can you move without momentum? Can you move from the strength of the core? Coming back into high crescent lunge on Janayasana, maybe changing your foundation and shortening it or widening it if you need to. From here, my friends, that little bit of a longer, extended warrior three, pulling up and off that back leg, keeping the hips stable. We don't want to turn it out like a little dog peeing on a fire hydrant. We want the hips to be stable as you pull the crown away from the tailbone. And maybe your warrior three is one breath today. Maybe your warrior three involves a wall. Maybe it involves blocks under the palms. Maybe today you close your eyes. Can you follow the path of your breath? Can you trust that your body is working with you, for you, and not against you? And can you fill your unique body with gratitude? You have one more inhale. If that standing like thigh is burning, just say gratitude. Thanks for those calves. Thank you for the foot that supports us. Softly bending the front knee, coming back into high crescent. How slow can it be? That's the power of the transition. One more big inhale here. And the exhalation, palms down towards the mat, stepping back to plank. Optional vinyasa or hips up and back for downward facing dog. Letting the breath be what drives you. Spaces of discomfort and a space of comfort as well. Big inhale. Big exhalation. And from here, my friends, we'll shift forward plank pose, top of a push-up. And we're gonna lower all the way back down towards the belly, but I'm gonna welcome you to do it as slowly as possible. So maybe it's gonna be 1 count, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 8. And softer, you'll land on the belly on the mat itself. And from here, we'll flip over onto our backs like little pancakes, little omelets, little waffle action as we set up for Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, as we set up for bridge pose. While we're on the back, bending both legs at the knees, soles of the feet will be hip width distance. The benefit actually of allowing for you to view yourself sometimes in these poses is you can actually see where your feet are. Many have a big habit of putting their feet out quite a bit further in front of their knees. So this can be an opportunity to really check your alignment just to keep the knees safe. Gazing up towards the sky, long spine, palms draw down by the side hips. Roll the shoulder heads down, begin to present the heart. From here, moving into bridge pose. Inhalation, lifting the hips, pubic bone and navel will lift at the same time. Maybe staying here or maybe reaching behind you, interlacing the fingers, rolling one shoulder head down, then the other, as the heart gently lifts towards the sky. Pulling the tailbone towards the back of the heels. Finding the fullness of the breath, back bends, even extensions of energy in the back spine. Slightly longer hold here for an energetic movement. Option to stay here, perfect place to stay. Otherwise, we'll add a leg lift. Ground the weight down into the left heel. Inhalation, right leg will lift towards the sky. One leg lifts in bridge pose. The exhale softly releases the right foot back down to the earth. Inhalation, left leg rises, Ekapada Setu Bandha Sarvamdasana. And the exhalation releases the left leg back down towards the earth. Take one more big breath, regardless of which option you chose. And the exhale lets the hips gently melt back down towards the earth, coming out of bridge. Maybe the knees will windshield wiper. Maybe there will be just simply stillness. We're going to find one more back bend, and it's going to be completely your choice. They're always your choice. We have 4 options. 1, staying where you are and doing nothing. It's a perfectly acceptable option. 2, if you do have a block, we have an option of coming into a supportive bridge. Otherwise, we'll be moving into bridge again, or Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward facing bow pose. For both Urdhva and Setu Bandha bridge pose, we start in the same way. Both legs are bent at the knees, soles of the feet are hip width distance apart. For Urdhva Dhanurasana, begin to plant the palms at the top of the shoulders, hug the outer arms in. You want that evenness in the spine. The inhalation begins to draw you to the crown of the head. And that exhale straightens the arms as you find that beautiful even bow as the shoulder blades push into the chest. If you're in bridge, if that was your choice here, really rolling the inner thighs down. Isometrically contracting the heels back towards the glutes. And if you chose supportive bridge, the block is on the low, medium, or high height underneath your sacrum, your low back spine. To come out of Urdhva, always moving out safely, gently coming to the crown of the head, softly tucking the chin. And the exhale gently rolls you back onto your back spine. Take one more breath if you're in supportive bridge or bridge pose. Inhale. And the exhalation lets everything melt back down towards the earth. If you used your block this morning, you're welcome to remove it and place it off to the side. Knees again, maybe windshield wiper after your back bend. Come together and the feet draw wide. Or again, maybe simply stillness. From here, my friends, we'll hug the right knee into the chest and extend the left leg straight out and away from the body. Beginning to open the right arm out and away. Palm will face the sky. Roll the shoulder head down. And the exhale is a simple single-legged twist. On the exhalation, rolling over to the outer edge of the left hip, taking your happy right knee with you. Maybe gazing away from the knee to deepen the twist. And maybe gazing towards it this morning to soften it. There's a reason there's so many poses. There's a reason there's so many options in this world, so many types of trees and fruits and small creatures and big creatures and people. Nothing's made to be the same. There's a beauty in that uniqueness. Your uniqueness is your superpower. So every time we keep trying to act or be someone else or something we're not, we're actually giving away our power. There's no need for you to be anybody except for simply you. Belly pulls in, my friends. Inhale, right knee draws back up towards the sky, and we'll softly switch sides. Left knee hugs in, right extends straight, flex the right foot at the ankle. Open up the left arm, really ground that shoulder head down, and the exhale rolls you onto the outer edge of the right hip for your second side, simple, single-legged twist. Noticing the quality of the breath. Infusing self, infusing breath, infusing every moment with the ability, the option to be grateful. It's an option. Belly pulls in, inhale, left knee draws back up towards the sky. And we'll hug both knees into the chest. A little Avanasana on a Taco Tuesday. Little knees to chest pose. Movement or stillness. And coming into full happy baby, full Ananda Balasana. Reaching out for the outer edges of the soles of the feet, stacking the ankles over the knees. And if that feels too much, maybe that full version of the pose isn't what your body enjoys. The tailbone is lifting or the shoulders are rounding. So you can always reach for the outer edges of the thighs, the outer edges of the shin. 2 breaths here, my friends, and we're all done for the morning. Big inhalation, fill the belly. And a big exhale. One more here, inhale. What is it like to choose to be full? And the exhale lets it all go. We set up for Shavasana, my friends. The only pose we will ever work for in any room on any day. A pose of release, a pose of peace, a pose to reset the body and the mind as they integrate. So choose any props you need or none at all. The permission to take up space, to release muscle from bone. A moment and permission to pause. And so gently deepen the breath. Movement is there if you desire, stretching up and out, taking up room and space. Just gently drawing the knees in towards the chest. finding your way to your side. And in your own time, picking yourself up off the mat, meeting one another in a comfortable seated position. Our gratitude for self and one another is a choice. We always have a choice. Anytime we think we're backed into a corner or there's not another option, we're just not seeing the situation in full light. We have a choice of how we move, how we talk, how we interact, how we breathe, how we think, how we love, and how profoundly. So may today and every day be, again, an option, a choice. May we spend our breath wisely with those we love and cherish. On a Taco Tuesday, my friends, gratitude. Namaste.
Namaste.
So nice to have you guys here this morning. It's going to be another beautiful day. As Boz Luhrmann says, wear sunscreen. Put a hat on. Make sure if you have little animals at home, that they've got lots of fresh